The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new apartment, casting long shadows across the bare walls. I stood there, coffee cup warming my hands, looking out at the sprawling cityscape of Seoul. This was it, my fresh start, my chance to leave everything behind and rebuild myself from scratch. My name is Ha-Nul, and at 26 years old I was finally learning what it meant to put myself first. I ran my fingers through my golden hair, a feature that had always made me stand out among other Koreans. My mother used to say it was a gift, that it made me look like sunshine personified. But sunshine, I'd learned, could attract the wrong kind of attention. The moving boxes still cluttered my apartment, but I didn't mind. In 2 days I would start my new job as a secretary at Kim Enterprises, one of the biggest firms in all of Korea. The position had come as a surprise. My credentials were solid, but I knew dozens of qualified candidates must have applied. Yet somehow I'd been chosen. I thought about my past as I sipped my coffee, something I'd promised myself I wouldn't do anymore. But the memories came anyway, uninvited and unwelcome. High school, that's where it started. Miho had been my first boyfriend, a popular alpha who made my omega heart flutter with just a smile. I thought I was special, thought our love was real. Until I walked in on him kissing another omega in the music room, his hands tangled in their hair the same way they'd been tangled in mine just days before. Ha-Nul, it's not what it looks like, he'd said as if there was any other explanation. I'd run. That's what I did back then, I ran. My second relationship had been with an alpha who seemed gentle at first, but whose hands wandered in ways that made my skin crawl, who pushed boundaries I'd explicitly set. The third had left bruises on my pale skin that took weeks to fade. And the fourth had been so controlling, so obsessed, that I'd had to change my phone number and move apartments just to escape him. 4 relationships. 4 disasters. 4 reasons why I'd given up on love entirely. No more, I whispered to my reflection in the window. No more alphas. No more heartbreak. Just me, my career, and a peaceful life. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Ji-won, my best friend from high school and the only person who knew the full extent of my romantic catastrophes. Ji-won, first day in 2 days. Nervous? Excited? Both? Call me. I smiled despite myself. Ji-won had been my rock through everything. While everyone else had whispered behind my back about my failed relationships, Ji-won had simply been there, holding my hand through the tears and the healing. I'd call him tonight. For now, I had unpacking to do and a life to organize. My first day at Kim Enterprises began at exactly 7:45 a.m. I'd arrived early, my navy suit pressed to perfection, my golden hair styled neatly. First impressions mattered, especially when working for someone with a reputation like Kim Ji-won. The CEO of Kim Enterprises was legendary, and not in a good way. People called him the monster behind his back, a nickname that spoke volumes about his management style. He was known for his exacting standards, his zero-tolerance policy for mistakes, and his ability to reduce grown adults to tears with a single glance. "You must be Ha-Nul," said a kind-faced beta woman who introduced herself as Min-ji, the HR manager. "Welcome to Kim Enterprises. I'll be showing you to your desk and going over the basics before you meet Mr. Kim." "Thank you," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. My omega instincts were already on alert, picking up on the tension that seemed to permeate the entire building. Min-ji led me through the sleek, modern offices. Everything was chrome and glass, efficient and cold. Employees moved with purpose, their faces serious, their conversations hushed. It was like walking through a temple where one wrong move could invoke divine wrath. "Here's your desk," Min-ji said, gesturing to a workstation directly outside a large office with frosted glass doors. "That's Mr. Kim's office. Your primary responsibilities will be managing his schedule, screening his calls and emails, preparing documents, and basically anticipating his needs before he voices them." I swallowed hard. Anticipating his needs? Min-ji gave me a sympathetic smile. "Mr. Kim values efficiency above all else. He doesn't like to repeat himself, and he expects everything to be organized to perfection. His previous secretary lasted 3 months. That's actually quite good. The one before that made it only 6 weeks. My heart sank. What had I gotten myself into? Is he really that difficult? I asked quietly. Difficult isn't the right word, Min-ji said carefully. He's exacting. But he's fair. If you do your job well, he'll respect that. Just remember, everything must be precise, orderly, and on time. Mr. Kim has let's call it an obsession with neatness and order. Before I could ask more questions, the frosted glass doors opened. And there he was. Kim Ji-won was not what I expected. The rumors had painted a picture of a cruel, ancient tyrant, but the man before me couldn't have been more than 32 or 33. He was tall, imposing really, with sharp features and eyes so dark they seemed black. His suit was immaculate, tailored perfectly to his muscular frame. His presence filled the entire space, commanding and intense. He was, objectively speaking, the most handsome alpha I'd ever seen. And the most terrifying. "You're the new secretary," he said. It wasn't a question. His voice was deep, controlled, with an edge that suggested he didn't suffer fools gladly. "Yes, sir." "Hanul, sir," I managed, bowing respectfully. Those dark eyes swept over me, analytical and thorough. I felt exposed under that gaze, as if he could see every secret, every failure, every crack in my carefully constructed armor. "Your desk is a mess," he said flatly. I looked down at my perfectly organized desk in confusion. Everything was arranged neatly, pens in a holder, papers in a tray, computer perfectly aligned. "The pens," he continued, "they're different heights. Organize them by size. And the papers in your tray are slightly crooked. Fix it." With that, he turned and walked back into his office, the doors closing behind him with a soft click. Minji patted my shoulder. "Welcome to Kim Enterprises," she whispered. "Good luck." The first week was brutal. Every task I completed was scrutinized, corrected, and sometimes redone entirely. Mr. Kim, I couldn't bring myself to think of him as Ju-won, had standards that bordered on the obsessive. Documents had to be formatted in a specific way. His coffee had to be exactly 185 degrees Fahrenheit, no more, no less. His schedule had to be color-coded by priority and type of meeting. But here's what surprised me: he never yelled. He never lost his temper. He simply stated what was wrong and expected it to be corrected. There was something almost clinical about his approach, and I found myself rising to the challenge. My Omega nature, which had always been seen as a weakness in past relationships, actually served me well here. Omegas are naturally detail-oriented, naturally attuned to the needs and moods of others. Where other secretaries might have wilted under Mr. Kim's exacting standards, I adapted. By the end of the second week, I'd memorized his preferences. I knew he took his lunch at exactly 12:30 p.m. and preferred his office temperature at 71 degrees. I knew he hated unnecessary small talk but appreciated efficiency. I knew that when he rubbed his left temple, he had a headache and needed his specific brand of pain reliever with a glass of water. "Your report," Mr. Kim said one afternoon, holding up a document I'd prepared. My heart raced. Was something wrong? "The formatting is perfect," he continued. "The information is comprehensive and well organized. This is acceptable work." Coming from Kim Ju-won, acceptable might as well have been a standing ovation. "Thank you, sir," I said, bowing. For just a moment I thought I saw something flicker in those dark eyes. Surprise? Approval? It was gone too quickly to tell. What I didn't know was that Mr. Kim had been watching me just as carefully as I'd been watching him. He noticed how I arrived 15 minutes early every day. He noticed how I'd reorganized his filing system to be even more efficient. He noticed the little things, how I'd learned to read his moods, how I anticipated his needs, how I brought him water before he even realized he was thirsty. He noticed everything about me, though I wouldn't learn this until much later. 3 months into my new job, I finally had a free weekend. The work had been consuming, but I'd fallen into a rhythm with Mr. Kim. We existed in a strange professional harmony. I anticipated, he commanded, and somehow it all worked. I met Ji-won at our favorite barbecue restaurant, a place we'd been coming to since our university days. He'd been my friend for over a decade, and seeing his warm smile made me realize how much I'd missed having a social life. "Hanul," Ji-won exclaimed, pulling me into a tight hug. "Look at you, all professional and successful. Seoul life is treating you well." We settled into our booth, and soon the table was covered with sizzling meat and side dishes. "So tell me everything," Ji-won said, expertly flipping the meat. "How's working for the monster? Are you surviving?" I laughed. "He's not a monster. He's just particular. Very, very particular." "That's generous of you. I've heard stories about him making people cry." "He's never made me cry," I said, realizing it was true. "He's demanding, yes, but he's also fair. If I do good work, he acknowledges it. If I make a mistake, he tells me how to fix it. There's no game playing, no emotional manipulation. It's actually kind of refreshing." Ji-won studied me with knowing eyes. "You like working for him?" "I do," I admitted. "It's challenging, but I feel like I'm actually good at something, you know? For the first time in a long time, I feel capable." "And what about your personal life?" Ji-won asked gently. "Any relationships?" I shook my head firmly. "No. No relationships. I told you I'm done with that. For strikes and I'm out. I'm focusing on my career." "Hanul." Ji-won's voice was soft, sympathetic. "You can't let those assholes ruin love for you forever. Not everyone is like Miho or the others. There are good alphas, and betas and even omegas out there who would treat you right. Maybe, I said non-committally. But I'm not interested in finding out. I'm happy with my life as it is. Ji-won pulled out his phone with a mischievous grin. What if I told you there was a way to dip your toes in without the pressure of real dating? What are you talking about? Dating apps, he said triumphantly. Look, you don't have to actually meet anyone. You can just chat with people casually, have conversations, maybe make some friends. No pressure, no commitments. Just opening yourself up to the possibility that not everyone out there is terrible. Ji-won, I don't know. Come on, he urged, already downloading an app on my phone. Just try it. If you hate it, delete it. But maybe, just maybe, you'll have a nice conversation with someone. Remind yourself what it's like to connect with another person without all the baggage. I sighed, but I couldn't deny that part of me was curious. Fine. But just talking. Nothing more. That's all I'm asking, Ji-won said with a smile, handing me back my phone. Now tell me more about this job. You seem different, more confident. I like it. We spent the rest of the evening catching up, and by the time we parted ways, I felt lighter than I had in months. Maybe Ji-won was right. Maybe I couldn't let my past define my future forever. Over the next few months, work consumed me entirely. Mr. Kim had become less of a terrifying boss and more of a respected colleague, though he'd never know I thought of him that way. Our professional relationship had reached a level of efficiency that amazed even the other executives. How do you do it? Minji asked me one day. You've been here 6 months. That's longer than any secretary he's ever had. What's your secret? I smiled. I just pay attention. Mr. Kim isn't complicated, he just has very specific preferences. Once you learn them, everything else falls into place. What I didn't say was that I'd come to respect Kim Ji-won deeply. Behind his stern exterior was a brilliant mind and an unwavering sense of integrity. He worked harder than anyone else in the company, often staying until 9 or 10 at night. He never asked his employees to do anything he wouldn't do himself. And despite his reputation, I'd seen him quietly approve bonuses for hard-working staff and write recommendation letters for those seeking to advance their careers. He was, in his own way, kind. Just not in any way people expected. One particularly exhausting Friday, after a week of back-to-back meetings and a major presentation to investors, I came home completely drained. My apartment felt too quiet, too empty. For the first time in months, I felt that familiar hollowness creeping in, the sense that while my professional life was thriving, something personal was missing. I remembered the dating app Ji-won had installed on my phone all those months ago. I'd never actually used it, but tonight, in my exhaustion and loneliness, I found myself opening it. The profile setup was simple. I used a picture that showed my golden hair but kept my face partially hidden. My bio was minimal, just looking for casual conversation. No pressure. I was about to close the app when a message appeared. Golden puppy, hi. I noticed your hair. It's such a beautiful color. Mine is pretty ordinary, but I've always loved unique colors. How was your day? I looked at the sender's profile. The profile picture was of a cute puppy, fluffy and adorable with bright eyes. Something about it made me smile despite my exhaustion. Against my better judgment, I replied. Sunshine Omega, long day at work. Exhausting actually, but your puppy picture made me smile. Is it yours? Golden puppy, I'm glad I could make you smile. And no, it's not mine, I just really love dogs. Always have. What do you do for work? Sunshine Omega, I'm a secretary. And you? Golden puppy, I work in business. Pretty boring, honestly. But tell me, what do you do to relax after exhausting days? We talked for over an hour that night. The conversation flowed easily, naturally. Golden puppy was funny without trying too hard, thoughtful without being pushy. They asked about my interests, my favorite foods, my dreams. And slowly, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't in years. The messages with Golden puppy became a regular part of my routine. After work, I'd come home, make dinner, and we'd chat. Some nights we talked for hours. Other nights, just a few messages before one of us had to sleep. It was nice, comfortable, safe. Golden puppy, do you believe in fate? The question came one evening about 2 months into our conversations. Sunshine Omega, I'm not sure. I think I used to, but life taught me that sometimes things just happen randomly. Why do you ask? Golden puppy, because I find it interesting that out of all the people on this app, you were the one I messaged. Your golden hair caught my attention, but it's your personality that made me stay. I felt my cheeks warm. It had been so long since someone had said something genuinely kind to me. Sunshine Omega, that's really sweet. I almost didn't reply to your first message, you know. I'd only opened the app on a whim. Golden puppy, I'm glad you did. These conversations have become the best part of my day. Sunshine Omega, Mine too. As the months passed, 3, 4, 5, I found myself genuinely looking forward to our chats. Golden Puppy told me about their stressful work, about feeling misunderstood by most people, about having high standards that others found difficult. I shared my own struggles, my past relationships, though I kept the details vague, my fear of being hurt again, my determination to protect my heart. Golden Puppy, not everyone will hurt you, you know? Some of us actually want to treat the people we care about well. Sunshine Omega, how can you be sure? Golden Puppy, I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you that when I care about someone, I'm loyal. Completely. The people who matter to me are precious, and I protect what's precious. Something about those words made my heart flutter. This person, whoever they were behind that puppy profile picture, was starting to mean something to me. By the 10th month of chatting, I realized with a start that I'd fallen for them. This anonymous person I'd never met, never seen, never heard. But their words, their personality, their kindness, it had all wormed its way past my defenses. Golden Puppy, I think we should meet. The message came on a Tuesday evening and my heart stopped. Sunshine Omega, meet? In person? Golden Puppy, yes. I know we said we'd keep this casual, but no. I've fallen for you. Your warmth, your intelligence, your kindness despite being hurt. I want to see you, to know you beyond these messages. If you're not ready, I understand. But I had to ask. My hands were shaking. Fear and excitement warred within me. What if this person was like the others? What if this was another mistake? But what if it wasn't? Sunshine Omega, okay, let's meet. There's a cafe near my office, Starlight Cafe. How about Saturday at 2 p.m.? Golden Puppy, I'll be there. I'll wear a blue scarf so you can recognize me. Sunshine Omega, I'll wear a gold one, to match my hair. Golden Puppy, perfect. Anil, thank you for giving me this chance. I promise I'll treat you, with the care you deserve. That night I barely slept. Saturday arrived with agonizing slowness. I changed my outfit 3 times, styled my hair 4 different ways, and nearly canceled twice. G1 had to talk me off the ledge via phone call. You're going to be fine, G1 assured me. Just meet them, have coffee, see how you feel. You don't owe anyone anything. If it's weird, you can leave. Right. I can leave. I'm in control here. Exactly. Now go be brave. And text me afterward. I arrived at Starlight Cafe 15 minutes early, my gold scarf wrapped around my neck despite the mild weather. The cafe was cozy, with warm lighting and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. I chose a table by the window where I could see people approaching. At exactly 2 p.m. the door opened, and my world tilted on its axis. Kim Ju-won walked in, his tall frame commanding attention even in casual clothes. He wore a blue scarf around his neck. No. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a coincidence. My boss couldn't possibly be. His eyes scanned the cafe and landed on me. On my gold scarf. I watched as realization dawned on his face, the same shock I was feeling mirrored in his expression. For a moment we just stared at each other across the cafe, the air thick with disbelief and something else. Something electric. Then he walked toward me, each step measured and controlled. "Null," he said softly, and I'd never heard my name sound like that from his lips before. You're Sunshine Omega? You're Golden Puppy? I whispered back. But how? Why didn't I recognize? I never used my real name. I wanted. He sat down across from me, and for the first time since I'd known him, Kim Ju-won looked uncertain. I wanted someone to know me without knowing who I was. Without the reputation, the company, the expectations. I just wanted to be myself. The puppy picture, I said, understanding dawning. You love dogs. I do. Always have. And your golden hair, I see it every day at work and every day I want to. He stopped himself, shaking his head. This is unprofessional. I'm your boss. This situation is. You said you'd fallen for me, I interrupted, my heart pounding. In your messages. Did you mean it? Those dark eyes, which had always seemed so cold and distant at work, now burned with an intensity that took my breath away. Every word, Ju-won said quietly. I've been watching you for months, Hanul. The way you organize everything perfectly, the way you anticipate my needs, the way you're never intimidated by me. And then, talking to you online without the professional barrier between us. I fell completely. I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. At work you barely look at me. You've never been anything but strictly professional. Because I had to be, he said, and there was something almost desperate in his tone. You're my secretary. I couldn't act on my feelings. It would be inappropriate and abuse of power. So I kept my distance, even as every day I wanted to tell you how beautiful you are, how impressed I am by your work, How much I look forward to seeing you each morning. My mind was reeling. The monster of Kim Enterprises, the man everyone feared, had been the sweet, thoughtful person I'd been falling for online. They were the same person. I've been hurt before, I said softly. By alphas who used me, who lied to me, who hurt me. I came to Seoul to escape all that. And now I find out that the person I've been falling for is my boss, an alpha with power over my career. How do I know this isn't another mistake? Ji-won reached across the table, his hand hovering near mine but not touching, asking permission. You don't, he said honestly. You can't know for certain. All I can offer is my word and my actions. I'm not like the ones who hurt you, Hanul. When I care about someone, I'm completely loyal. I would never lie to you, never hurt you intentionally, never use my position against you. If you want to leave right now and pretend this never happened, I'll respect that. I'll remain your professional boss and nothing more. But if you're willing to give us, a chance, I promise I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of your trust. I looked at his hand, still hovering near mine. This was a choice, my choice. I could walk away, protect my heart, keep things professional. Or I could take a risk on someone who'd already shown me kindness and understanding when he thought I was just a stranger online. Slowly I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and I saw relief flood his features. I'm scared, I admitted. I know, Ji-won said softly. I'm scared too. This is new territory for me as well. But Hanul, I think you're worth being scared for. We spent the next 3 hours in that cafe talking about everything. Ji-won told me about his reputation, how he'd built walls around himself after being used for his position and wealth too many times. How he developed his exacting standards as a way to maintain control in a world that often felt chaotic. How lonely he'd been, surrounded by people but truly known by none. I told him about my past, really told him this time, not the vague references from our chats. About Miho's betrayal, about the alpha who'd violated my boundaries, about the one who'd left bruises on my skin, about the obsessive ex I'd had to flee from. I'm going to find them, Ji-won said, his voice dark. Every single one, and... No, I said firmly. They're in my past. I don't want them affecting my future. Promise me you won't go after them. He looked like he wanted to argue but finally nodded. I promise. But if any of them ever come near you again, that promise is void. The intensity in his eyes should have frightened me. Instead, it made me feel protected, cherished. We decided to take things slowly. At work, we would remain professional. Outside of work, we would date, properly date, getting to know each other in person the way we had online. I should warn you, Ji-won said as we finally left the cafe, the sun setting around us. I'm not good at romance. I don't know the right things to say or do. I'll probably mess up constantly. I smiled. You've been doing fine so far. And Ji-won? I'm not good at trusting. I'll probably doubt you sometimes, push you away when I get scared. We'll both mess up. Then we'll figure it out together, he said. He walked me to my apartment building and at the entrance he hesitated. Can I? He started then stopped. May I kiss you good night? My heart raced. Yes. He cupped my face gently, his thumbs brushing my cheeks. Then he leaned down and kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. It was nothing like the aggressive, demanding kisses from my past alphas. This was tender, asking rather than taking. When we pulled apart, I was breathless. Good night, Hanul, Ji-won whispered. Good night, I replied. I watched him walk away and for the first time in years, I felt hope blooming in my chest. The next few months were strange and wonderful. At work, Ji-won was still the exacting CEO everyone knew. He was demanding, particular, and accepted nothing less than excellence. But now I could see the small changes. The way his eyes would soften slightly when they met mine, the tiny smile that would tug at his lips when I handed him his perfectly prepared documents. Your relationship with Mr. Kim has gotten even better, Minji observed one day. He actually smiled during the last board meeting. People are calling it a miracle. If only she knew. Outside of work, Ji-won was different. Still intense, still serious, but softer. He took me to quiet restaurants where we could talk without being overhead. He learned my favorite flowers, peonies, and surprised me with them. He listened when I talked about my day, really listened, remembering small details I mentioned in passing. We took it slow physically. After everything I'd been through, Ji-won was careful never to push, never to assume. He always asked permission, to hold my hand, to kiss me, to put his arm around my shoulders. You don't have to ask every time, I told him one evening as we walked through a quiet park. Yes, I do, he said firmly. Your consent matters, Hanul. Every single time. I fell a little more in love with him in that moment. Our first real intimate moment came 3 months into our relationship. We'd gone to his apartment, A sleek, minimalist space that was exactly what I expected from him. For dinner, he'd cooked, which surprised me. You cook? I'd asked, watching him move confidently around the kitchen. I live alone, he'd replied. I had to learn. Plus, I like things done exactly right, which means I can't rely on others. The meal was delicious, and afterward we sat on his couch talking about nothing and everything. I found myself leaning into him, his arm around my shoulders, feeling safe and warm. Hanul, Ji-won said softly. I want to be close to you. But I need you to tell me what you're comfortable with. What you want. I turned to look at him, at this powerful alpha who'd given me nothing but respect and care. I want you, I whispered. I'm ready. He searched my face. You're sure? We can wait as long as you need. I'm sure. Ji-won kissed me then, deep and passionate but still controlled. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt heat pooling in my stomach. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with desire. Bedroom, he said, his voice rough. He led me to his bedroom, as neat and organized as the rest of his apartment, and turned to face me. At any point, if you want to stop, you tell me, he said seriously. I mean it, Hanul. Your comfort is more important than anything else. I nodded, touched by his care. What followed was tender and intense. Ji-won undressed me slowly, his hands reverent as they explored my pale skin. He kissed every inch of me, murmuring praise against my flesh. So beautiful, he whispered. Perfect. When he finally joined with me, it was with care and attention to my pleasure. He moved slowly at first, watching my face for any sign of discomfort. But I felt only pleasure, only the rightness of being with someone who truly cared for me. Ji-won, I gasped, my hands clutching his shoulders as sensation built within me. I've got you, he murmured. Let go. I've got you. And I did, crying out as waves of pleasure washed over me. Ji-won followed moments later, his face buried in my neck, my name on his lips like a prayer. Afterward he held me close, our bodies tangled together. Are you okay? He asked softly. More than okay, I replied honestly. That was perfect. You're perfect, he said, kissing my forehead. And you're mine. My Omega. If that's okay with you. It's more than okay, I whispered. For the first time in my life I felt truly cherished. 6 months into our relationship, I was happier than I'd ever been. Ji-won and I had settled into a comfortable rhythm, professional at work, affectionate and loving outside of it. We spent most evenings together either at his place or mine, cooking dinner and talking about our days. He'd started staying over some nights, and I loved waking up to find him next to me, his usually stern face soft in sleep. I'd taken to tracing his features gently, marveling at how I'd gotten so lucky. What are you doing? He'd murmured one morning, catching my hand. Memorizing you, I'd replied. He pulled me close and kissed me thoroughly, and we'd been late to work that day. But happiness, I was learning, could be fragile. I was leaving work late one evening, having stayed behind to finish organizing files for an upcoming audit. Ji-won had an evening meeting with international clients, so I was heading home alone. The street outside the office building was quiet, most people having already left for the day. Hanul. The voice froze me in place. I knew that voice, would never forget it no matter how many years passed. I turned slowly to find Hyun-soo standing there. My third boyfriend. The one who'd left bruises. He looked the same, tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of handsome face that hid cruelty underneath. His alpha pheromones washed over me, and my Omega instinct screamed at me to run. Hyun-soo, I managed, keeping my voice steady. What are you doing here? I heard you were in Seoul, he said, walking closer. I forced myself not to back away. Thought I'd look you up. It's been a while, hasn't it? Not long enough, I replied coldly. His expression hardened. Still holding grudges? I thought you'd have gotten over that by now. What happened between us was just a misunderstanding. You hit me, I said flatly. Multiple times. That wasn't a misunderstanding. You provoked me, he said, and the casual way he justified his abuse made my blood run cold. If you'd just listened, done what I asked, I wouldn't have had to discipline you. Don't come near me again, I said, turning to leave. His hand shot out, grabbing my arm hard enough to hurt. We're not done talking. Let go of me, I said, trying to pull away. You always were ungrateful, Hyun-soo snarled, his grip tightening. I gave you everything and you ran away like a coward. You think you're too good for me now? I said let go. I tried to wrench my arm free, but his alpha strength was too much. Panic started to set in, the same panic I'd felt years ago when I'd been trapped with him. Hanul. The voice was thunderous, commanding, and unmistakably Ji-won's. He appeared seemingly out of nowhere, his face a mask of fury. His alpha pheromones flooded the air, so powerful and dominant that even I, his Omega, felt the overwhelming force of them. Hyunsu's grip loosened immediately, his own alpha instincts recognizing a stronger predator. You have 5 seconds to remove your hand from what is mine, Ju-won said, his voice deadly quiet. Or I will remove it for you. Hyunsu let go, stepping back. Who the hell are you? I'm Kim Ju-won, Ju-won said, moving to stand between me and Hyunsu, CEO of Kim Enterprises. And more importantly, I'm Ha-nul's alpha, his partner, his protector. And you just made a very serious mistake. Ha-nul is with you? Hyunsu asked, looking between us with disbelief. He is, Ju-won confirmed. And if you ever touch him again, if you so much as breathe in his direction, I will destroy you. I have the resources, the power, and the motivation to ruin your life completely. Do you understand me? Hyunsu's face paled. Everyone in Korea knew who Kim Ju-won was, knew what he was capable of when crossed. I didn't mean any harm, Hyunsu stammered. I just wanted to talk. You hurt him, Ju-won interrupted, his voice cutting. You abused him. And now you've laid hands on him again. That's not talking. That's assault. I have security cameras that recorded everything that just happened. I could have you arrested right now. Please, Hyunsu said, actually backing away. I'm sorry. I'll leave. I won't come near him again. No, you won't, Ju-won agreed. Because I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. Every business contact, every social circle, everyone will know you're an abuser. And if you think you can hide from that, think again. Hyunsu fled, practically running down the street. Ju-won immediately turned to me, his fury evaporating into concern. Ha-nul, are you hurt? Did he hurt you? I was shaking, the adrenaline finally hitting me. I'm okay. Just scared. He pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. I'm so sorry. I should have been with you. If I'd been even a minute later. But you weren't, I said, clinging to him. You were here. You protected me. Always, he murmured into my hair. I'll always protect you. You're mine, Ha-nul. My Omega. And I protect what's mine. The incident with Hyunsu shook me more than I wanted to admit. Ju-won insisted I move in with him temporarily, just until he was certain I was safe. I agreed, grateful for his presence and protection. True to his word, Ju-won made Hyunsu's life extremely difficult. He didn't do anything illegal, but he used his considerable influence to ensure that Hyunsu's reputation was destroyed. Job opportunities dried up. Social invitations were rescinded. The message was clear: touching Ha-nul had consequences. Is it wrong that I'm glad? I asked Ju-won one evening. That you're making him suffer? No, Ju-won said simply. He hurt you. He deserves consequences. I won't apologize for protecting you. But the incident made Ju-won realize something else. A week after the confrontation, he called a company-wide meeting at Kim Enterprises. This was unusual. He typically only addressed everyone at the annual general meeting. I stood at the back of the conference hall with the other staff, confused and a little nervous. Ju-won stood at the podium, commanding attention as he always did. I've called you all here to make an announcement regarding my personal life. Typically, I keep such matters private, but recent events have made it necessary to be transparent. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kim Ju-won never discussed his personal life. As many of you know, Ha-nul has been my secretary for nearly a year now, Ju-won continued. What you don't know is that Ha-nul is also my partner. My Omega. We have been in a relationship for the past 6 months. Gasps echoed through the hall. Everyone turned to look at me and I felt my face flush. I'm making this public for several reasons, Ju-won said, his voice firm. First, because Ha-nul deserves to have our relationship acknowledged rather than hidden. Second, because I want to make it absolutely clear to anyone who might wish to harm him that he is under my protection. If anyone approaches Ha-nul with ill intent, if anyone touches him, threatens him, or makes him uncomfortable in any way, they will answer to me personally. His eyes scanned the crowd, landing on me with unmistakable affection and possessiveness. Ha-nul is precious to me, he continued. He is brilliant, kind, and strong. He has made my life better in every way, both professionally and personally. I am proud to call him mine, and I will not tolerate any disrespect toward him. From this day forward, if anyone in this company or beyond even looks at him wrong, they will deeply regret it. The hall was completely silent. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Then another. Soon the entire room was applauding. After the meeting, I made my way to Ju-won's office on shaky legs. He was standing by the window looking out at the city. You didn't have to do that, I said softly. He turned to face me. Yes, I did. I need everyone to know you're mine. That you're protected. That anyone who wants to hurt you will have to go through me first. People will talk. They'll say you're giving me special treatment. Let them talk, Ji-won said, crossing to me and pulling me into his arms. You earned your position through hard work and skill. Anyone who questions that can take it up with HR, where your performance reviews speak for themselves. But more importantly, I don't care what people say. I care about you being safe. About you being happy. I looked up at him, this alpha who'd once terrified me and now made me feel more secure than I'd ever felt in my life. I love you, I said. The words surprised me. We hadn't said them yet, despite being together for months. Ji-won's eyes widened, then softened. I love you too, Hanul. So much that it sometimes scares me. You've changed everything for me. He kissed me then, deep and passionate, and I melted into him. That evening he took me home, to our home now as I'd officially moved in, and showed me exactly how much he loved me. His hands were gentle but firm as he undressed me, his eyes dark with desire. My beautiful Omega, he murmured, laying me on the bed. Mine. Yours, I agreed breathlessly. What followed was intense and passionate. Ji-won worshipped my body with hands and mouth, bringing me to the edge again and again before finally allowing me release. When he entered me, it was with a possessiveness that made my Omega nature sing with satisfaction. Say it, he commanded, his movements powerful and controlled. Say you're mine. I'm yours, I gasped. Only yours, Ji-won. Always. He made love to me until we were both exhausted and satisfied, holding me close afterward like I was something precious that might slip away. I'll never let you go, he whispered. You're stuck with me now. Good, I replied, kissing his chest. Because I'm not going anywhere. A year passed, a year of happiness, growth, and love. Ji-won proposed on the anniversary of our first date, presenting me with a simple platinum band that somehow meant more than any elaborate ring could have. Marry me, he'd said simply. Be mine officially, legally, in every way that matters. Yes, I'd replied without hesitation. Yes, yes, yes. The wedding was small and private, just close friends and family. Ji-won stood as my best man, crying happy tears throughout the ceremony. I told you that you'd find the right one, he whispered as we waited for the ceremony to start. You were right, I admitted. Thank you for not giving up on me. Seeing Ji-won waiting for me at the altar took my breath away. He wore a traditional suit, looking every bit the powerful CEO he was, but his eyes held only love and tenderness as I walked toward him. We exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for all our days. When the officiant pronounced us married, Ji-won kissed me with such passion that several guests whistled and cheered. The reception was elegant, held at a private venue that Ji-won had rented out entirely. He gave a speech that made me cry. Hanul came into my life when I'd given up on finding anyone who could understand me, he said, holding my hand. He saw past the reputation, past the walls I'd built, and found the person underneath. He made me want to be better, softer, more open. He is my partner, my Omega, my everything. I promise to spend every day of our life together making sure he knows how loved and cherished he is. I couldn't speak after that, too overwhelmed with emotion. Instead, I pulled him down for a kiss, pouring all my love and gratitude into it. Our wedding night was magical. Ji-won had arranged for us to stay at a luxury hotel with a stunning view of Seoul's skyline. He carried me over the threshold, something I teased him about, and set me down gently in the suite. My husband, he said wonderingly. You're my husband now. And you're mine, I replied, wrapping my arms around his neck. Forever. He made love to me slowly that night, taking his time to explore every inch of my body, to bring me pleasure again and again. When we finally joined together, it was with a connection that went beyond the physical, a spiritual and emotional bond that made us truly one. I love you, he whispered as we moved together. I'll love you until my last breath. I love you too, I gasped, lost in sensation. Always, Ji-won. Always. Later, as we lay tangled together, exhausted and content, I reflected on how far I'd come. From a broken Omega running from his past to a man confident in his worth, secure in his relationship, and genuinely happy. What are you thinking about? Ji-won asked, running his fingers through my golden hair. How lucky I am, I said honestly. How all the pain I went through led me here to you. I wouldn't change any of it because it brought me to this moment. I'm the lucky one, Ji-won disagreed. You could have walked away that day in the cafe. You could have let your past define your future. But you didn't. You took a chance on me, on us. That took incredible courage. We took a chance on each other, I corrected. True, he agreed, pulling me closer. And I'll spend every day grateful that we did. 2 years later, we welcomed our first child, a beautiful baby girl with Ji-won's dark eyes and my golden hair. Holding her for the first time, watching Ji-won's face transform with pure love and wonder, I knew that this was what happiness truly meant. She's perfect, Ju-won whispered, cradling our daughter with surprising gentleness. Just like her other father. The monster of Kim Enterprises had been completely tamed by a tiny infant. The staff at the company joked that Mr. Kim had gone soft, but they said it with affection. Ju-won had loosened up over the years, his happiness with me mellowing his rough edges while maintaining his standards. I'd been promoted to executive assistant and was being groomed for a management position. Ju-won had made sure everyone knew it was based purely on my merit. My performance reviews and achievements spoke for themselves. Life wasn't perfect. We still had disagreements, still had moments of stress and difficulty. But we faced everything together as partners and equals. One evening, as I sat in our home office responding to emails while Ju-won fed our daughter, I heard him singing softly to her. I paused, listening to his deep voice, gentle and melodic in a way I'd never heard before. He looked up and caught me watching. "What?" "Nothing," I said with a smile. "Just, I love you. I love this. I love us." He stood, carefully holding our sleeping daughter, and came to kiss my forehead. "I love us too. You've given me everything I never knew I needed, Hanul. A family. A home. A reason to be more than just work." "You've given me the same," I said, touching his face gently. "You showed me that love doesn't have to hurt. That being an Omega doesn't make me weak. That I deserve to be cherished." "You do," he said firmly. "You deserve everything good in this world. And I'll spend my life making sure you have it." As I looked at my husband and our daughter, thinking about the life we'd built together, I realized that Ji-won had been right all those years ago in that barbecue restaurant. Not everyone was like my past boyfriends. Not every alpha would hurt me. Some alphas, the right alpha, would love me completely, protect me fiercely, and cherish me endlessly. I'd found mine. And he'd found his. Our story hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every moment of fear and uncertainty. Because in the end, we'd found each other. Two people who'd given up on love, learning how to love again together. And that, I thought as I watched Ju-won gently place our daughter in her crib, was the happiest ending I could have ever asked for. Years later, I stood in Ju-won's office at Kim Enterprises, now decorated with family photos and our daughter's artwork. He looked up from his desk as I entered, and his stern expression immediately softened into a smile reserved only for me. "Ready to go home?" I asked. "Always," he said, standing and crossing to me. He pulled me into his arms, kissing me softly. "How did I get so lucky?" "We both got lucky," I corrected, as I always did when he said things like that. We left the office hand in hand, heading home to our daughter and the life we'd built together. The golden-haired Omega and the fearsome Alpha CO, who'd found love in the most unexpected place and created something beautiful from it. And as we drove through Seoul streets, the city lights twinkling around us, I knew that this love, this life, this man beside me, was my happy ending. My forever. The evening air was cool as we returned home from dinner, celebrating our third wedding anniversary. Our daughter was spending the night with Ji-won and his partner, giving Ju-won and me a rare evening alone together. "Thank you for tonight," I said as we entered our bedroom, the soft glow of the city lights filtering through the curtains. Dinner was perfect. Ju-won turned to me, his dark eyes warm with affection and something deeper, desire that made my Omega instincts hum with anticipation. "The night isn't over yet," he said softly, reaching up to cup my face. "I want to show you how much I love you, how much these 3 years have meant to me." My breath caught as he leaned down, capturing my lips in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer until our bodies pressed together. I could feel the heat radiating from him, his alpha pheromones wrapping around me like a warm blanket. "Ju-won," I whispered against his lips, my hands moving to his shoulders. "Let me take care of you tonight," he murmured, his lips trailing down my neck, finding that sensitive spot that made me shiver. "Let me worship you the way you deserve." He guided me toward the bed, his movements unhurried and purposeful. With gentle hands, he began unbuttoning my shirt, his fingers brushing against my pale skin with each button he freed. His touch was reverent, as if I were something precious and fragile. "You're so beautiful," he said, sliding the shirt from my shoulders. "Every time I look at you, I still can't believe you're mine." "I am yours," I confirmed, reaching up to loosen his tie. "Just as you're mine." We undressed each other slowly, savoring each moment, each touch. When we were finally bare before each other, Ju-won laid me back on the bed, his body covering mine. The weight of him, the warmth, the solidity, it all felt like home. His lips found mine again as his hands explored my body, tracing paths he knew well after years together but that still felt new and exciting. He touched me like he was memorizing me all over again, his fingers gentle yet firm against my skin. "I love the way you respond to me," he whispered, his hand moving lower, wrapping around my hardening length. The way your body knows mine. I gasped at his touch, my hips arching involuntarily. Ju, please. Patience, my love, he said with a soft smile, his hand moving in slow, deliberate strokes. I want to take my time with you tonight. His mouth traveled down my body, leaving kisses and gentle bites that made me tremble. When he reached my most sensitive area, his touch became even more tender, more careful. He knew exactly how to touch me, exactly what I needed. You're perfect, he murmured against my skin. So perfect for me. The pleasure built slowly, exquisitely as Ju-won continued his ministrations. His fingers prepared me carefully, gently, always watching my face for any sign of discomfort. But there was none. Only pleasure, only the overwhelming feeling of being loved completely. Are you ready for me? He asked softly, positioning himself between my legs. Yes, I breathed, reaching up to pull him down for a kiss. I'm always ready for you. He entered me slowly, carefully, giving me time to adjust to his considerable size. The stretch was intense but not painful. We knew each other's bodies too well for that. When he was fully seated within me, we both paused, just feeling the connection between us. My Omega, he whispered, his forehead resting against mine. My beautiful, perfect Omega. My Alpha, I replied, my legs wrapping around his waist. Move, Ju-won. I need you. He began to move then, with long, slow strokes that made me gasp with each thrust. His rhythm was measured, controlled, designed to maximize my pleasure. One hand braced beside my head while the other moved between us, wrapping around my length again, stroking in time with his movements. Does this feel good? He asked, though he surely knew the answer from the sounds I was making. Yes, I moaned, my hands clutching at his shoulders. So good, Ju-won. Don't stop. Never, he promised, his pace increasing slightly. I'll never stop loving you, never stop wanting you. The pleasure built steadily, each thrust sending waves of sensation through my body. Ju-won knew exactly how to angle his hips to hit that spot inside me that made me see stars, and he did so with precision and care. Look at me, he commanded softly, and I opened my eyes to meet his dark gaze. I want to see you when you come apart for me. The intensity in his eyes, combined with the physical pleasure, was almost too much. I felt myself approaching that edge, that point of no return. Ju-won, I'm close, I gasped, my body tensing. I know, my love, he said, his hand moving faster, his thrusts becoming more urgent. Let go. I've got you. With a few more perfectly aimed thrusts, I shattered, crying out his name as waves of pleasure crashed over me. My release spilled between us as my body clenched around him, pulling him deeper. Ju-won followed moments later, his own release powerful as he buried himself deep within me, my name a prayer on his lips. The feeling of him filling me, claiming me in the most intimate way possible, extended my own pleasure. We stayed like that for a long moment, connected and breathless, hearts racing in sync. Finally, Ju-won carefully withdrew and rolled to the side, immediately pulling me into his arms. I love you, he whispered, kissing my forehead as we both caught our breath. More than I ever thought it was possible to love another person. I love you too, I replied, snuggling closer to his warm body. Thank you for being patient with me all those years ago, for showing me what real love looks like. His arms tightened around me. Thank you for taking a chance on me, for seeing past the monster everyone else saw. You've made me better, Hano. You've made me whole. We lay there in comfortable silence, our bodies cooling, our hearts still racing slightly. After a while, Ju-won got up to get a warm cloth, cleaning us both with gentle care before returning to bed and pulling me back into his arms. 3 years married, I mused, my fingers tracing patterns on his chest. And it still feels like the honeymoon phase. That's because I fall in love with you more every day, Ju-won said seriously. Every morning I wake up next to you, every time you smile at me, every time I watch you with our daughter, I fall deeper in love. I tilted my head up to kiss him, soft and sweet. You're getting sentimental in your old age. He chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest. Only with you. At work, I'm still the terrifying CO everyone fears. Good, I said with a smile. I like knowing that I'm the only one who gets to see this side of you. You're the only one who ever will, he promised, his hand stroking my golden hair. You and our daughter. You're my whole world, Hano. As we drifted off to sleep, tangled together in the afterglow of our lovemaking, I reflected on how far we'd both come. From two broken people who'd given up on love to this. A partnership built on trust, respect, and deep, abiding affection. The Omega who'd been hurt too many times and the Alpha who'd built walls around his heart had found each other against all odds. And together we'd created something beautiful, a love that would last forever. Happy anniversary, my love, Ju-won murmured sleepily, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. Happy anniversary, I replied, my eyes already closing. Here's to many more. And wrapped in the arms of the man who loved me completely, who cherished and protected me, who had shown me that happy endings were real, I fell into the most peaceful sleep. Because I was home. I was loved. I was his. Forever.